You know, that image everyone has in their head of people just going at the Berlin Wall with sledgehammers.
Yeah.
Turns out one of the first pieces to come down wasn't from a sledgehammer at all.
Really?
Yeah, it was from a jackhammer operated by just some random East German guy.
Huh.
Just decided he had enough.
Wow.
And that's the kind of energy we're talking about today.
I like it.
As we deep dive into excerpts from the reunification of Germany and the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Okay.
It's a story about way more than just knocking down some concrete.
Right.
It's about a whole society going through this massive transformation with echoes that we can still feel today.
It really is fascinating how that single event, the wall coming down, it becomes like the shorthand for this huge, messy process of reunification.
Absolutely.
But as you said, there were years leading up to it that most people just don't know about, where the pressure just kept building and building.
Let's rewind then to the late 1980s.
Okay.
We've got Gorbachev and the Soviet Union shaking things up with Glasnost and Perestroika, all these reforms.
Big changes.
And you could feel these winds of change blowing across Europe.
Absolutely.
But then in East Germany,
you've
got the Socialist Unity Party, the Sensi.
Right.
They're just holding on to power for dear life. Their economy's tanking and people getting more and more frustrated.
Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like there on the ground at that time?
You know, it's almost like if you could imagine a pressure cooker.
Okay.
You've got this deep yearning for freedom, you know, basic things like being able to travel to speak your mind, but it's constantly being suppressed. And the Stasi, the East German secret police, they were notorious for their surveillance and control.
I think everyone knows about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then economically, people were struggling with shortages, limited opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a powder keg just waiting to ignite.
And ignite it.
Oh, yeah.
With those Monday demonstrations starting in Leipzig.
Yes.
Right? They're really a perfect example of how every day people just said enough's enough.
Absolutely.
What was it about those protests that made them so powerful?
Well, firstly, they were incredibly persistent.
Okay.
Week after week, rain or shine, people would gather, the numbers kept growing, and it just showed a level of commitment that the authorities just couldn't ignore.
Right.
Secondly, they remained largely peaceful.
Okay.
And this was crucial for garnering public sympathy and ultimately putting pressure on the SED.
Right.
And thirdly, they were fueled by this simple, universal desire.
Freedom.
Exactly.
It wasn't just about these kind of abstract political ideas, though, right?
No, not at all.
This was about being able to visit your family across the border.
Right.
To speak your mind without fear. Have access to opportunities that had been denied to them for decades.
Exactly. Those were very human, very tangible desires that resonated with people across East Germany.
Right.
And it wasn't just happening in Leipzig either. The Monday demonstrations spread to other cities.
Okay.
Creating this wave of pressure that the SH just couldn't contain.
It's almost like this unstoppable tide, just building and building.
Yeah.
Until finally that iconic moment.
November 9th, 1989.
The announcement of relaxed travel restrictions.
Right.
It was meant to be this controlled release of pressure, but instead it was like pulling the cork out of a champagne bottle.
It really was the sheer force of the crowds demanding passage.
Yeah.
Through the Berlin Wall caught everyone off guard.
I bet.
The border guards were totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
No clear orders. Eventually, they just yielded.
Wow.
It was a moment of pure chaos and jubilation.
Yeah.
Captured so vividly in images and footage from that night.
Oh, way back.
People dancing on the wall.
I've seen them,
Hammering away at it. Tears of joy streaming down their faces. It's so powerful to witness, even now.
Absolutely. So the wall falls.
Yes.
But that's not the end of the story, is it?
Not at all.
Reunification itself was still a very complex process, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're talking about merging two entirely different systems.
Right.
Politically, economically, socially. It wasn't just about knocking down a wall. It was about rebuilding a nation from the ground up.
Yeah.
It's like you had two Germanys that developed in completely different directions for over 40 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't just hitting a reset button.
As with trying to merge two completely different computer operating systems.
Exactly.
Like you said, different currencies to figure out legal systems, not to mention the social and psychological impacts.
Oh, absolutely.
Of being separated for decades.
Yeah, and economically, it was a massive undertaking.
Right.
East German industries, so many of them state-run, they were suddenly exposed to all this competition from the West.
Right.
This huge influx of investment into the East.
Yeah.
But it also led to unemployment.
Of course.
And this feeling of economic dislocation for so many people.
And then there's the human element. Families separated for years, finally able to reunite.
Right.
But also having to face the reality of how much their lives have diverged.
Yeah.
Must have been a roller coaster of emotions for everyone involved.
Absolutely. And, this wasn't just a German story.
That's true.
The fall of the Berlin Wall and German reunification had seismic repercussions across Europe and the world.
Yeah, you can't talk about reunification without talking about the end of the Cold War.
Right.
Was there a domino effect, do you think?
Definitely the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
It was like this crack in the Iron Curtain. And it emboldened these other Eastern European countries to push for their own freedom.
Right.
We saw democratic revolutions in Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and ultimately the collapse of the Soviet Union itself.
It's amazing to think how this seemingly isolated event in Berlin triggered such massive global changes.
Absolutely.
So we've got this unified Germany emerging from the ashes of the Cold War.
Right.
Where does that leave them on the world stage?
Well, reunification allowed Germany to reassert itself as a major player, but this time within a unified and peaceful Europe.
Right.
And we see this reflected in the push for deeper European integration, leading to the formation of the European Union in 1992.
And Berlin, once this symbol of division, now becomes a vibrant European hub.
Absolutely. Berlin reclaims its role as the capital of a reunified Germany, attracting investment talent, becoming this center for culture and innovation.
Right.
It's almost poetic how this city, once divided by a wall, becomes a symbol of unity and progress.
Yeah, and speaking of unity, let's not forget the introduction of the euro in 2002.
Oh, huge.
That was a massive step towards a unified European identity and economy.
For sure, the euro wasn't just a new currency.
Right.
It was a symbol of European solidarity.
Yeah.
It facilitated trade, made travel easier. And for many, it represented this deeper sense of European belonging.
Absolutely.
Of course, it also came with its own set of challenges and economic debates.
It seems like there are always two sides to every coin.
Right.
So we've got a unified Germany at the heart of this new Europe.
Yeah.
But what about the German people themselves?
Right.
How did reunification affect their sense of national identity?
That's a great question and a complex one.
Okay.
You have to remember Germany's past.
Yeah.
Particularly the legacy of World War II.
Right.
It cast a long shadow over any displays of national pride.
Right.
For decades, there was this reluctance to embrace overt patriotism.
So how did this play out in a reunified Germany?
Well, the 2006 World Cup, hosted by Germany, became a sort of testing ground for this new national identity.
Interesting.
Suddenly you saw Germans waving flags, painting their faces black, red, and gold,
Huh.
openly celebrating their national team.
Wow.
It was this level of patriotic fervor that hadn't been seen in decades.
You can almost feel that energy just looking back at images and stories from that time.
Absolutely.
Must have been quite a shift for a lot of people.
It definitely sparked a debate.
Okay.
Some felt uncomfortable with those outward displays of patriotism, given Germany's history.
Of course.
Others saw it as a chance to reclaim a positive national identity, one based on inclusivity, diversity, and a commitment to peace.
Right.
The World Cup provided this platform for Germany to present this new face to the world.
Yeah.
And the world responded enthusiastically.
So it sounds like the World Cup wasn't just about football.
No.
But about Germany redefining itself on the global stage.
Precisely. It became a symbol of Germany's reintegration into the international community, showcasing its economic strength, cultural vibrancy, and its commitment to democratic values.
But as with any major historical event, reunification wasn't without its challenges. We can't just focus on the celebratory moments.
Yeah.
What were some of the lasting challenges that Germany faced? We talked about the economic side earlier.
Yeah.
But did those differences between East and West fade away as quickly as the wall itself?
Not quite, no.
Okay.
You see, closing that economic gap proved to be much longer and more complex than a lot of people had anticipated.
Okay.
While there was significant investment poured into the former East Germany, it wasn't a magic bullet.
What were some of the specific challenges that slowed down that process?
Well, for one, East German industries, many of which were state-run and less efficient.
Right.
They struggled to compete in this unified market-driven economy.
Makes sense.
This led to factory closures, job losses, a wave of migration from East to West as people looked for better opportunities.
It sounds like a difficult transition.
Oh, absolutely. And these economic disparities, they had this ripple effect, impacting everything.
Right.
From social cohesion to political attitudes. Even today, you see a difference in voting patterns.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and political views between East and West.
Interesting.
Often rooted in these lingering economic anxieties and the sense of being left behind.
Our source material mentions various crises faced by unified Germany. Can you elaborate on what those were and how they affected the nation?
Well, one of the most significant was the 2008 global financial crisis.
Okay.
While Germany weathered the storm better than many other countries, it still exposed vulnerabilities in the unified economy.
Right.
And then there was the 2015 refugee crisis.
Oh, right.
Which saw a large influx of asylum seekers into Europe, putting a strain on resources
of course.
And sparking a political debate about immigration and integration.
It's a reminder that even a nation as strong as Germany is not immune to global events.
Right.
And their impact on its own internal dynamics.
Absolutely.
So if we look at Germany today, decades after reunification, what's the overall picture?
You know, it's a mixed bag, to be honest. On the one hand, Germany has achieved remarkable success. It's a stable democracy, a global economic powerhouse, and a leader in the European Union. But those disparities between East and West, those lingering economic anxieties and those questions about identity, they haven't vanished entirely.
It sounds like the process of reunification, of truly weaving two distinct societies into one, is a continuous journey, not a destination.
Exactly. And that's the key takeaway here, I think. Bringing down a wall is one thing, but building a truly unified nation, both economically and socially, is a much longer, more nuanced process.
What stands out to you most when you reflect on the whole journey of German reunification?
I'm struck by the resilience of the human spirit, despite decades of separation. The people of East and West Germany found a way to come together to rebuild their nation and to face new challenges as a unified force.
It's really an incredible story.
It really is.
It's a testament to the power of hope, determination, and the enduring desire for freedom and unity.
Absolutely.
Well, this deep dive into German reunification has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
We've gone from that electrifying moment of the wall coming down to the nitty-gritty of merging economies and political systems to this complex, ongoing process of forging a new national identity.
A story that's still unfolding.
Exactly, and one that holds valuable lessons for us all.
I think so.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final question for you to ponder.
Okay.
Given all that we've discussed, do you think there are any parallels between the challenges faced by Germany during reunification and the challenges faced by other divided societies around the world today?
That's a good question.
And if so, what can we learn from Germany's experience? Both its successes and its ongoing struggles. It's something to think about as you continue exploring this fascinating chapter in history.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into German reunification.
My pleasure.